Well, hello dear viewers and welcome to Level Up Reviews Extra. Today I will talk about spiritual successor of Ultima games, Shroud of the Avatar, The Forsaken Virtues. Let's jam! After Richard Garriott's departure from EA in April 2nd of 2000, alongside with Robert Garriott and Starlong, he founded a new company, Destination Games, with tagline, "We have arrived." At E3 of 2001, Richard Garriott announced that Destination Games would become US headquarters for NCSoft. In 2007, they released sci-fi MMORPG called Tabula Rasa. But according to Richard Garriott, NCSoft and Destination Games had two very different visions of what an MMORPG should be. Basically, ideas of Eastern and Western MMORPGs clashed. The game did not sell well, and its servers closed in February of 2009. But not before Richard Garriott left the company in 2008. In September of 2009, Richard Garriott, alongside Dallas Snell and Fred Schmidt, co-founded a new company, Portalario, with the tagline, "We take you there." After developing a couple of social networking website games, in collaboration with Zynga Incorporated, which shut down after Facebook game market crash, Richard decided to go back to his roots. Originally, he wanted to make Ultima Online 2, if he got the permission from Electronic Arts. But since he could not secure the IP, he decided to create a spiritual successor for Ultima games. In March of 2013, Portalarium announced Shroud of the Avatar, The Forsaken Virtues. This was a great time for this, since former Origin employee who had a lot to do with success of Ultima Online, Starlong, joined Portalarium. The Kickstarter account was created, promising many benefits to the supporters, like housing, books, maps, manners, future content, and other things. Richard Garriott even cut off a piece of his hair and gave it out alongside with valves of his blood. So he literally gave his blood to finance the game. Portalarium also collaborated with two internet celebrities, Noah Antweiler, known as the Spoony One. He did a couple of comedic reviews of Ultima games, and Jose Antonio Vargas, also known as Angry Joe. This brought quite a lot of attention to Shroud of the Avatar. Portalarium promised that there will be 5-episode-long story. The game would be played both on and offline. And Richard Garriott pointed out that a lot of modern games are too hand-holding. He wanted to make an old-school RPG. Kickstarter managed to bring in $1.9 million. On the website for Shroud of the Avatar, it says that the game gathered a total of $12.8 million. In July 12th of 2016, Richard Garriott and prominent author Tracy Hickman released a book called The Sword of Midras. The illustration was done by Denis Loubet, and at this point you cannot separate Ultima games from Denis Loubet's beautiful illustrations. The book is basically prequel to the games. A mysterious being, only known as Avatar, brought unity and virtues to the world. This was the time of great prosperity, but there was an event, known as the Fall, that set civilization back and plunged it into chaos. In this chaos, Obsidian Empire was founded by a person only known as the Obsidian Eye, who started conquering lands and bringing order to the world. But there is a catch here. Methods that Obsidian Empire uses to unify the world are quite horrifying. They turned conquered people into elves, satyrs, and fawns. They also use necromancy to raise the dead. All of this greatly strengthened the Obsidian army. Arin Benis is our main hero, who joined the Obsidian Order because he thinks world was horrible before Obsidian Order brought some peace to it. He's pretty much always accompanied by his loyal scout, Sienna. Basically, they're trying to conquer the city of Midras, and while this is happening, Sienna and Benis go to the tomb to discover a sword. This sword is rumored to be Avatar's sword. It allows the holder to get the information about people nearby. He delivers the blade to his commander, General Milos Karpasik, who is terrified by the experience, demotes Benis, and sends him on the new mission alongside with Scout Sienna and other soldiers. They betray him and deliver him to Council of Might. Apparently Sienna really hates Obsidian Empire because what they did to her sister. More about that later. The Council of Might is basically a union formed to oppose Obsidian Empire. Basically, Sword has chosen Arin as its master. To get more answers, Arin is moved to City of Titans, Opolis. Here we have character growth. Because of the sword, Arin gets to know people of the city. He does not want people of Opolis to suffer under Obsidian Empire. He meets the Titans, who tell him that General Karpasik is marching on City of Opolis. They also tell him that they possess a lot of knowledge, and they want to preserve it. So Arin Benis promises to help them. Of course, he realizes that city cannot stand against such a large army. He decides to negotiate instead. Arin Benis pulls Manuel Eratikos Kamninos on General Karpasik, surrenders the city to him in exchange to let him go, alongside with civilians. And he would leave all the gold, jewelry and food, except a little, to the enemy. Of course, Karpasik has no interest in anything else but gold, so they manage to sneak out all the books and scrolls containing knowledge of the Titans. Karpasik, meanwhile, discovers that instead of gold, they have left brass, and instead of precious jewels, they left glass. Oh, and all the food is poisoned, and there is a Norgard army approaching the castle. This is the end of the first book. Honestly, it's a really fun read. I would give it a go. The second book, The Eye of Scales, was released in July of 2002. It has the same authors. It is more about politics of Obsidian Empire and struggle to gain the power within the inner cabal of the Obsidian Empire. Specifically between Arin's friend Ever Duray and a powerful sorceress named Meradine. Arin is appointed as a leader of the armies of Council of Might, while Everd breaks out General Karpasik from the jail to gather up new army and attack Arin's army. You see, Everd thinks that Arin is controlled by the sword. Also, he wants to gain higher power and position in Cabal. Karpasik, meanwhile, wants to kill Arin Benis and makes a deal with Meradine, who wants to get her hands on the sword and gain more power as well. There is also Amanda, Sienna's sister, who was captured by the Obsidians and turned into an elf, but this failed, so they just used her to copy the books and documents. Sienna managed to rescue her and return her home. The main thing with her is that she can actually communicate with modified creatures and convinces a lot of them to desert the Obsidian Empire. Before the final battle, Arin finds a forge and he meets Alicia, who explains that she is the sword. It is called Eye of Scales and offers him to impose his will on the world and bring the order, just like he always wanted. Arin says no, and Sword reveals that it was all a test. Meanwhile, the battle begins. Amanda convinces some of the creatures of the Obsidian Empire to leave the Obsidian army. The demons attack Arin Benis and Sienna. Amanda manages to take over the dragon controlled by Meradine. Because of this, Meradine kidnaps Amanda. Karpasik stabs Ever Duray, and this is pretty much where the book ends. Honestly, I enjoyed the first book much more, but I can't say I wasn't interested in the cliffhanger second one end zone. I do like characters. Arin Benis has a personality to himself. He is pretty much a trickster, so I really enjoy that kind of a military commander. And it's pretty understandable why he actually changes sides. Two sisters here are okay as well, I guess. Especially Amanda is really interesting, but you could have done more with them. I also really love General Karpasik. He is so greedy and petty. It is actually really interesting to see a character like this. He is a great villain. Meradine and Everdure were probably least interesting characters to me. It is probable that Everdure will switch sides. As far as Meradine goes, she's a bit too much of a typical villain. Also, I have to say, I really like the setting as well. It's really interesting to see that mythical creatures are actually modified humans. It is actually a very cool setting and an interesting story. As I said before, I would actually give it a read. On March 27th, 2018, Shroud of the Avatar: The Forsaken Virtues was released. The game did not exactly have the best reception, neither by the critics nor by the general public. The critics thought that game did not know which legacy it wanted to follow, the single-player Ultima games or Ultima Online. And unfortunately, I have to agree here. It's kind of a mess, but more about that later. The fans had other problems, especially the fact that Patreon promises were not delivered in time, problems with housing markets, and gameplay, and the fact that Richard Garriott was traveling at this time, which left a lot of fans with the impression that he didn't really care about the game. The story of the game is happening after the books. As a result of the wars, which are known as the Obsidian Wars, all is left from once mighty Obsidian Empire are Obsidian Kabbalists, 8 ancient sorcerers. Titans of Opalis also constructed a machine called the Oracle to rediscover lost virtues of the Avatar. The player's main goal in Episode 1 is to find the Path of Truth by finding the artifacts and passing the test of the Oracle. Before I go any further, I have to say I played most of the game offline. I tried my best to go online, but unfortunately every time I faced a problem with the server. It kept kicking me out. In all honesty, I've had a terrible experience with this game. I am not surprised at all that this game averages around 28 players a month. Player housing and market prices are ridiculous. Player-owned towns selling for thousands of dollars. I mean, cheapest one I saw was $700. I personally find it ridiculous spending this amount of money for what is basically a dying game. You start with the character creation. It's pretty normal. You can select your gender and craft a decent looking character. Honestly, nothing too different from other RPGs. You can also make a random character as well. Battle system is nothing too special in this game. You can line up enemies and damage all of them with one sword swing, which is pretty cool, I guess. You can also damage your sword, so you need to maintain it. If you will die, you will turn into a ghost, like in Ultima Online. You can also access the store, which is called the Crown Store. You can buy horses here and pets, not to mention some of the armor. And again, pretty typical online store. The skills are divided into two. Adventurer skills, which is also divided into combat, magic and strategy, and crafting skills, which is divided into gathering, refining and production. You can mix and match skills. You don't really have classes in this game. Honestly, I'm not an MMORPG fan. I know I'm already biased against Shroud of the Avatar, but even by MMO standards, this is not a good game. You start the game in the massacred town. Here you will get introduction to the game with the player handbook, which immediately breaks the immersion. Yeah, I expected far better from creators of Ultima. You can get to know what happened by reading letters on the dead bodies, and your first mission will be to save a girl. You will also meet this automaton who will train you. It's just odd and out of place here. In medieval setting, I don't know. I know there are automatons in older Ultima games like Serpent Isles, but somehow it just doesn't work here. Oh, and I almost forgot. The conversation system is based on keywords, like in Morrowind. It's okay, but in modern day and age, this system is a bit out of place. I guess it's okay for me, but I like old school RPGs. I would imagine this is a huge deterrent for a lot of the younger RPG players. It is just not too player friendly. Same with the controls. For example, you have to right click on the screen to turn around. I mean, is it really necessary? Basically, you have different areas which you can access by going to overworld map, like in Final Fantasy games. The online game is filled with player-built towns, and traveling here is okay, I guess, but this is still so outdated. So, after I finished a couple of quests, I left the first area and got to the area of Highvale Outskirts. Here I came across a mission and I had a lot of fun, until I ran into a bug and could not move on. So I actually quit the game. This is a very disappointing experience. Honestly, I have no interest of replaying this game. So what happened next does not really surprise me. On October of 2018, the game went free to play. Portalarium offices closed soon and their employees started working from their houses. In October of 2019, game was sold to Catnip Games, company owned by Chris Spears, CEO of Portalarium. Richard Garriott moved on, and he has not spoken about Shroud of the Avatar anymore. In November of 2020, some extra stuff was added to the game. It also included mounts. The company is currently working on Episode 2, which adds a large island to the world map. But really, it is not looking too good. I do not really think they will deliver on all 5 episodes. Anyways, as you can see, I did not have high opinion on this game. Anybody who has seen my videos knows that I do not like just bashing on the games. In fact, I always try to find something good about them. I even considered not doing this video at all, but I already read both of the books and tried my best to play Shroud of the Avatar. Unfortunately, it would be too much of a wasted time for me not to make this video. This game is filled with outdated concepts. It is bugged, has loading screens lasting for too long. It is also very laggy, and trust me, the problem is not with my internet connection, nor is it with my computer. Everything is fine with all the other games. I guess lore is fine, and art is great. One redeeming quality of this game is the music. It is composed beautifully. It really had many talented composers working on it. I think it would have been so much better if Richard Garriott just focused on single-player Ultima game. It would be far more easier to make and maintain. Garriott tried hard to repeat his success with Ultima Online, but really I don't think that would be possible, not with the game he released. He released a game that tried to go back to old school RPGs, but what was great about Ultima Online was that it was new and innovative. That is what Richard Garriott should have concentrated on if he wanted a successful game. If I did not know any better, I would think that this game is just one big giant scam. But really, I think I read enough about Richard Garriott to say that he would never do such a thing. I think he just tried to make an old school MMO which simply could not grab attention of the new players. It is a shame that I have to end this review on this note. I would even say stay away from this game, but then again the game is free, so if you're curious, go ahead and play it. there is nothing to lose. Maybe you will have different opinion from me. Not everyone looks at the things same way. So, if you enjoy Shroud of the Avatar, more power to you. Thanks for watching my review, and please share your opinion down in the comment section below. And shout out to my brand new subscribers: Juragan, Scott Wilkie, Witold von Pirich, Dark Lord Yanni, Sid Bell, Facundo Petrolo, Nenreal, Jeremy Hillman, Stan Kaczynski, Mr. Progrock, Bradley Clare, Joseph Byron Smith, Pillow, Alikai66, Mark D, Jeff Tillman, Luna Tantric, Nimb, Not Me Gaming, SSPD077, Samuel Oliveira, Jake Souza, Jonathan Sheriff, Jose's Gaming Channel, James Priwoznik, Morgan Ketchum, JS, MacDrum, Roman Goicoecha, Bill Casinelli, Anteters, My Bosses, Mr. Steo, Jamie M, BJ. Welcome to my channel and thank you all for subscribing. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you very much.